спелых не работал, во-вторых, если я попробую, специально.
Now let's take a little look at the joiners and then we'll start. Alright, so let's start. Hello everyone. Today we are going to continue what was expected, what was planned since the last session. So it means that we'll continue talking about logs, then we'll have the practical exercise with using logs, using log 4 J class in Java. And then we'll go through the ways how can we work with the files in Java. So first of all, let's continue with the present, and yeah, I will check your homeworks home tomorrow, and then I'll write all the points down. Okay, so let's continue. So as you remember, on Saturday we talked about logs, basically what the logs are, and as you remember, the idea of the idea of logs is that this is basically one place. Yeah, we can say that this place is object where the data is stored during the execution of the program. So basically you run the program, then you have this object. It can be created, it can be static, it can be non-static. Again, it depends on the program, but the idea is that this is the place where the data will be collected to. So you go through the program, you have some actions, and these actions can be highlighted in one place. So this is one place, and there can be such an option that at the end of the program the data from this place will be collected, and then it can be displayed on the screen, or it can be moved to the database. Then after that you will be able to access this data and see what is the issue. If there's some potential issues, then you can determine them using the logs. Also, why I started talking about logs, because we previously talked about exceptions, and it's quite usual way that when an exception is handled, then the information about it is placed to the log. So basically how it works, you have the log in your program, then you run your program, then something goes wrong, exception is thrown, and from the exception, from the information you have in the exception, you can place this information inside the log. Usually it's placed inside the log, and yeah, after that you'll see all the issues you had during the execution in one place. Again, it can be displayed on the screen, it can be written in the file as well. Usually when you run something, you have the log of files. Let me quickly check if I had any quick examples on my computer. Moments. Okay, I cannot quickly find them, but usually, again, also in Eclipse, I think for Eclipse there are the logs as well. So basically, when you run Eclipse, there may be some issues when you run the Eclipse, and some issues may also be stored in logs. So basically, I mean, almost I think all the applications have these logs. So these are usually the files where you can see if any issue happened and what basically happened there. Yeah. So, and now let's go through the one type of log in Java, and this is log 4J class. This is basically the background of the class introduced for Java, and on 96 This comes from your Semper project. We decided to write all tracing API. So basically, mostly all the all classes are APIs. So we can use them to create the logs. And now it's almost everything what's written in Java is maintained by Apache. This is open source, of course, same as Java is. And the latest version is 2.x, I mean the higher than 2. So then, how is it created? The architecture of Log4, it's basically the package. There's the package distributed under Apache software license. This you can find it using this link, and it is used in many languages, not only in Java, but in C, C++, C#, Perl, Python, Ruby, and 8 more languages. About architecture addition, why the subproper is designed to be fast and extensible, and simple, quite easy to use, able to disable certain log statements, allowing others to print, and figured it has 3 main components. It's logger, handling the majority of log operations, appender, which control, of course, the output of log operations, and layout, which is part of formatting the output for appender. So basically, when we're using this package, we can append, store, and change the log string. And as an example, how it looks inside the code. So you import logger class, and then you define you can define the logger object. I mean, this is the variable, but when certain since this is final static, it will be during the execution of the program. This will be created once and never change. And then you can basically put the messages to the log. Again, as last time on Saturday, as you remember, we created our own log class. Created our own log class, which looked this way. And, I think I used oh no, sorry, this was oh yeah, my logging class, and that's correct. This class, my logic, sorry, not logic, but logging class. Yeah, so I will rename it. So typo. Class. Let's quickly change it. And basically, what was the idea? We created first of all, we also used a message class. We created message class, which is this one. Created message class, which basically means that this is the structure of one exact message. And as we usually have the structure we usually have in the logs, we have the messages, and for the message we have the type. We have the type. Usually it is information, warning, or error. And in some cases there may be more specific types, but it mostly depends on the area you are working. So you have the type of the message, then you have the text. Also possible such thing that you have the message strings defined somewhere, because basically how we will most likely I will work with the web programming a little bit later, but how it is usually done in the applications is done that like all the strings you see on the screen. Like let's say here you can see package explorer, you have file, edit, source, and all these things. So these are the strings, text in the software, how all the strings are. The strings are stored somewhere else, and basically here you just have the IDs of the elements, and then using any text files, language files, you can look up for the translations there. So that you have the ID and you get the text of the corresponding language based by ID, based on ID. And yeah, then you get the text. Also for loggings, I mean, also the same texts used for loggings, and imagine you have such thing like you have some parameters, let's say that can be name, surname, for example, and then you have the message template, we can call it message template, we can call it message signature. When you have the text, which will be like something, then you need to have the parameter to add to the string. This parameter may be name, surname. So basically you have a combination of the elements. So some strings also have the parameters. In a moment I will quickly show you one language file, and then you will understand how it looks like. One moment. So let me quickly open one language file. And I will use yeah, so it may look something like this. So we have the string, and this is combined using different elements. Let me quickly check the format. Oh yeah, for example, something like this. There's a billing address, and then you have the parameter inserted. So it means that this string will be used. I mean, yeah, this part of string will be used, and also you need to provide the parameter which will be placed in this place. So this is how usually the strings are stored somewhere, and then again, as you said, if any parameter needed to be inserted, then you use the parameter. So it means that when you define the message, you may have, yeah, like always, you should, not always, but usually you have the message or the address to the message you have, which is stored somewhere. It can be in your computer, can be on database, it doesn't matter where is it. And then yeah, you may also have some parameters to be provided as a part of this message. So that's also usually can be done as an option. And so we have the message, which defines just the structure of the message, and then inside the logging class we might have the name of the log. It can be unique, it can be not unique, it depends on your scenario. And yeah, then we have just a place where we store our messages, and in this case that would be the list, the area list. And then in the beginning we usually initialize the log, we can add the starting message as an option, and after that we have the methods which are responsible to actually build our message log. Okay, also print log if needed, it can print all the messages stored under this log. And then after that the log can be used, so we create it and then we use it inside our program. And here we have the class built in Java, so you don't need to create your own class. It's already created. The class we can use And in this case, the concept is the same. Yeah, so basically, how can you add? How can you download this class? So, as we do for Maven projects, we can add Maven dependencies. So what does it mean? It means that if we add the project is not converted to Maven, so maybe let's do it. So that would be here. Let's finish. I convert my project to Maven. Then I can add dependencies. Okay, it's building. Let's quickly check. Here it's the project you downloaded in GTM file. It should already be here because it comes from GTM file from the project itself. So it should be here. I think we can copy paste. Oops, it's not pasting correctly. Let's check it this way. Oh, it's not here as well. Okay, that's interesting. As I remember, it should be here. But okay, if it's not, then we will need to add it. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Then let's do it. So we can add dependencies here, this section of dependencies, and then we can copy paste the content from here. Okay, copy paste works crazy well. So let's correct it a little bit. And then the dependency should be here. Okay, now we have dependency, it is loading, and now I have the first dependency here. I have downloaded this log4 J file, or file the package. Yeah, basically this is the file, which is the library. And then I can, let's create, maybe I'll just use exception package and define them logic here. So let's say login sample, and now you'll see that the class should be available here. So this class, import Apache, Apache log4, import logger class, it should now be available. Can define the body first. Static, set private map, and here we can say private, yeah, of course, logger. We can create new login class the same way as it's here. Oh yeah, of course we don't create for logger class we do not call new. We call the factory class. Call the factory class, and a moment. Regarding the constructor, we need to provide we need to provide the name for logger class, and say mylog. That's just the name. The logging class. So, okay. We can add main dependency, and after that we will be able to work with logger classes. And yeah, here is the example. Example dynamic settings. This is what I said. And you can use the pattern and then use the pattern. So yeah, you import the classes needed, then you create the logger object. Yeah, and then you can define the patterns for the string. You can use percentage marks mark and percentage marks to define the parameters. So you have the pattern. You can add some more strings to the pattern, and yeah, so also can create the layout for the pattern. This is needed to basically determine the layout you have for the logs, and and yeah, you can also add this so Ender, and also the level. Maybe it would be better if we maybe just copy paste this class. This will help us to understand it more correctly. So I will put it here. Okay. So now everything is fine. And okay, let's run it. I think it's okay. So, and what you can see here. Here you can see how our program looks like, our output looks like. So basically here we have the pattern. The pattern is just, the string pattern is what we created here. Percentage mark n is used to go to the next line. So sometimes we can use /n. In this case, we can also use percentage mark n. And here you can see, yeah, as I said, we have the pattern. So it means that instead of the variables here, we can put the parameters. And as an example, in the first place, we pass the parameter start. So the start is 0. Start is the start is 0. Because yeah, that's what we have by default. Here we have default values. Class name of core exceptions. Yeah, this is the class name. Then this is the date. Using percentage mark and t. Then we have L, which is log event. And here we can see the place where we are, and yeah, also the message, which is basically the message. And you can also see two lines. That's because we have this double percentage mark and at the end. Percentage mark at the end. And so this is how it is done. So as I said, the patterns of the string can include the parameters, and they may be different based on how you and when you execute the program. Okay. So this is about it. let's move on. Yeah, using external configuration for the configuration file. There's options do not have to be hard-coded within the software, so we usually, if we have some templates, let's say, or some strings, we usually do not hard-code them, but as I said, we store them in different files. So it means, let's say, for example, also for the, as I just mentioned, here we have some texts, I mean file, edit, source, and all the texts we have here. As I said, we usually just have the code keys for these elements when we develop, and we actually read the content from the files, which are stored somewhere in different files. And again, as I said, it's needed for localization. So, because Eclipse may be translated into different languages, not only it is used in English, but in other languages as well. So it actually means that if you have such way that the translations are stored in different files, so it means that it can be easily, not easily, but again, it depends on how it is built. But so these files may have some tools, translation tools. Some translation programs, and then these translation programs can actually allow you to change these files in the way that the translations are changed. So yeah, that's why it should be stored somewhere in configuration files. It's not hard-coded. Yeah, maybe if you don't know what hard-coded means, hard-coded means that we just write some texts inside the code. Yeah, usually this is called hard-coded. I mean, for us, since we are studying, it is fine, but in most cases we try to escape hard-coding by reading the data from the files. It can be from the files, from the configuration, sometimes from the database as well. So we usually do not hard-code the texts. Yeah, options can be changed without having to recompile the software. Yeah, that's also true, because if you need the changes inside the code, then it means that your program should be recompiled. Yeah. But if you just have the files when you read the text from, then you just need to change these files and without changing the program. And yeah, there are two ways in which one you can specify the external configuration file. Plain text is done in property configurator, and XML file in DOM configurator. We will not touch them now, but it is possible. So this is how the configuration looks like. So we provide some details here in the root logger, some elements, some data, what kind of output should be here, how it should look like by default, the pattern of the date of timestamps, file settings, and so on. So this is how the configuration looks like. And yeah, also the key thing is the performance. It claims to be fast, and Log4j claims to be fast and flexible. Speed first, flexibility second. That's true, and it's mostly fast, but yeah, it's quite fast. And yeah, also it has many features. The main first design goal was speed, and yeah, components are written have been written many times to include false, so that's true, and that's about the log package. And yeah, our optimize method invocation involves the hidden cost of parameter construction. To avoid the parameter construction, some tend to write, so first we check if debug is enabled, then you put the log debug, then this is unnecessary because it's done already in implementation 4.4. Yeah, so basically you don't need to double check if debugger is enabled or not for the logging, because it is done by it's already done by the system. So it means that if the debugging is disabled, you do not you won't have such debug entry once the program is executed. Yeah, so what about the priorities here? There are 5 recognized message priorities: debug, info, warn, error, and fatal. And fatal means that this is quite crucial issue, and usually it means that the program cannot continue its work. Yeah, priority specific log methods following the form that we have debug. We pass the message. Also, we can have the debug, and then we pass the message and the exception to be used, exception object. Yeah. So here, this means that we have the exception object, throwable object. It can also be not only exception, but any throwable, which can be used here. Then, yeah, when you have log, you put something inside log, then have priority level. That means that if it's information, warning, error, fatal, or debug, and then also object message, what message you want to put to the log, and also the exception, which can also be handled inside the log. So maybe let's quickly check in, and I can use the same option here. So that would be that if I have try no, sorry, not try here, but so I'll put in catch, try catch section, and let's say that let's say that I will divide by 0, and that's an option. And then so just divide by 0, nothing special here, just to put the exception. And here I can pass the exception, throwable. So what does it mean? It means that not the process, and we also pass the exception information to the debug and the log. Yeah, so basically it means that we pass the message, we pass the priority, we pass the message, and we also can pass the throwable object. Yeah, usually that's exception, and we can store it inside the log or print it using debug. Yeah, also there are localized log methods supporting resource bundles. Maybe I will not talk much about them, but yeah, these are used for localization as well. You can add some parameters there, and based on them you will have the entry. Also you can have the categories. Let's lies at the heart of log4j. So the categories basically define the hierarchy and give the programmer runtime control on which statements are printed or not. They're assigned. These are basically assigned priorities. Log statement is printed depending on its priority and its category. So it's used to support to multiple logs at the same time. So basically how it works, like you have the config of the log, and here you define the category. So this will direct all log messages in package finance with priority which is higher than info. So it means that it will direct the logs which are warning, error, and factory. Info and debug will not be used there. And basically, this is what we can say when we use debug. For the testing system, let's say that we have try catch, and we have the exception. So sometimes we want to see what happened when the exception is handled, and again, as I said, in the development we want to see what is there. And for the development we can set the setup, then it will basically check all the categories starting at debug. But when we have a real using system, which of course cannot have the debugging option there, because again, imagine if you're just browsing for this website and then you stop at some debugging point. Of course, this is not what you want to see there, and that's why for the production, for the user applications, this option is not used. Also we can define our own categories. We can name categories by locality. It turns out that in instantiating a category in each class with the category name equal to the fully qualified name of class is a useful and straightforward approach of defining categories. So basically that's quite straightforward, but however this is not the only way to name categories. A common alternative is to name categories by functional reuse. So basically you can name categories differently. Usually it points you to the place you are working with, so that can be database, RMI, security, or XML or something like that. So it can be different. What are the benefits of class names for categories? It's very simple to implement. You just need to define a category. It is quite simple to explain to new developers what is it. We'll go through the examples and we'll see. And it automatically mirrors your application's own modular design. And it's also true. It can be further refined at will. Basically, based on the requirements, you will have printing the category automatically with information on the locality of the log statement. This is also pretty. We'll see the example, and then I will show you what's basically is needed to be done. You should have the root category. Which is basically the main category, the category where everything comes from. And yeah, this is called boot. So yeah, if no category is defined, then just all the messages will be sent to the root category. This is basically the main category. Default, we can also call it. Yeah, all categories define a priority level, and in appender, for example, properties, root category, we can define multiples of them. Okay, then we can have the class appenders. Yeah, and that's the object that sends log message to a final destination. As we see here, have appender, console appender, and we just replace the information we have to appender, and then we add it to the log. So we have the appender after that. Yeah. Then there's so-called file appender, which basically, as I said, it can be done in different programs. It just writes the output of log to the file. And so it means that everything you'll have here will go to the file. After that, then yeah, there's so-called socket appender, which so these are basically dumps log output to socket, and yeah, also to system log appender goes to system log, but yeah, these ones we will most likely not see, but this is mostly when you again have the system, it can be Windows or something like that. Some logs usually go to store somewhere in the system. Yeah, so basically what appenders can't yeah, so there's such even long appender, which runs the logs to the so-called Unix system. We will most likely will not use this. Then yeah, rolling file appender. So after center size is reached, it will rename the old file and start with the new one. Yeah, basically when you use the files, then this can be used as well. Then for the system files as well, socket appender, SMTP for the emails, JMS sends messages using Java messaging service, or you can also create your own, but yeah, this is maybe a little bit more special. Then you have the pattern layout. This is what we see here. So for the logs, we can define the pattern, and then you can add the parameters to it. Some of them needs conversion. Print f function. Also, as we see there, date formats are used, and yeah, also here we have the characters, as you can see here. And here we used R, we used C, N as well, L, M, dates, yeah, dates as well. So here you can basically see what these mean. These date, as you can see, F used to output the file name, where the login request was issued. I is the location information on the caller. L is the output line number from where log comes from, and so on. So basically there can be different elements of pattern used, and N can be used. That's basically goes to the next line. That's the line separator. M method name. P that's priority. T that's the thread. Well, we currently are not using different threads, but if the multiple threads are used, then T can be used as well. X is used to output MVC instead there is context, but yeah, this may be more complicated. We'll not touch it. Alright, and now let's talk about the main component, what we have and what we usually use. That's the logger, and it has, let's say, 7 levels. That's all. The lowest possible rank of the logging, then trace. That's designates finer grained information events. Then the debug. That's the next level, which basically used for the debugging. If we want to non-debugging, just a simple way that we put the breakpoint and go through, but using the logs, so we put the information of the code execution somewhere it is defined. Then warning, it stores the potentially harmful situations, like something is not going so good, or something is not going as expected, but it is not so crucial, then we call it warning. Then the error, something is seriously going wrong, and but yeah, it might still allow the application to continue running. So that can be that you have try catch, let's say, then you catch some unexpected situation. This is a serious situation. That's why we call it error. But it does not crash the whole program, and fatal, that basically means that this is quite serious error and you cannot run the program after that. So it means that the program will totally crash after that. Info, it's just the information message that highlights that something is going on. And off, has the highest possible rank, and it intended to turn off logging, so it means that the logging will not continue after that. What does it mean when we continue? When it means that the logger continued. Okay, then let me explain. So basically, how the behavior is defined. So it is hierarchical. It's said to be an ancestor of another logger if its name followed by a dot is a prefix of the standard logger name. So, for example, if we define it this way, so it means that this is the parent logger of the name, which has another name again. So basically, the same as how we use the packages. Remember, for the packages we go to the we use the dots to separate sub packages from the parent packages. This is how it looks like. Have the logger name, let's say root, then the assigned level is debug, heritage level is debug, and then we just go down. Here we have the name X, we have info. And it's also inherited level. Then go from here, we have none, and here we have info. And also we have XYZ, and then error. Okay. So then, again, as I said, you can have different logging requests, debug info, warn error, photo, and what are methods for methods of a logger instance through a log message. Let's say you can have, for example, a logger info. That's just an information message which will be stored in the logger class. Logging request is said to be enabled if its level is higher than or equal to the level of its logger. If it's not higher, if it's basically less, then the level of logger then is said to be disabled. So this is how it will look like. We have the parent logger, which is the parent logger. So we create the hierarchy of them. So currently we have just this one, and then the parent would be this one. And yeah, basically this is how it looks like. So if the parent is set to info, then we should have level which is, as it stays here, higher than or equal. Okay. So yeah, for example, in this case, let's just go for an example. Remember that we set the level to parent logger to info, and then we have the child. If we add warning to the parent logger, then that's enabled. If we set debug, then it's disabled because the level of debug is less than the level of info. And then if we use info, then it should be enabled. If we use debug, then it should be disabled. Component appender. We define an output destination using it's called an appender. This is for console, files, GUI components, remote socket servers, GMS, and other system blocks. So basically, this is used in different places where the blocks are when the blocks are used. Accordingly, we have the appender tabs. We can have console appender just for the console, and for the reloading file appender for the files, and then the file appender as well for the files, and this one as well for the files. It depends on the area you're working with. So you can use different appenders then. Then you can use add appender methods to append the appender to the log as we did here. They are inherited editable from the logger hierarchy. So here we just use console appender, but if we go here, we should see that this is the class which extends writer appender, which extends appender sucker, which extends appender class. So basically this is the top class for all the console appender classes. Each neighbor logging request for a given logger will be forwarded to all the appenders in that logger as well. So its accumulation is no longer edited by setting the logger's derivative flag to false. So when we set the flag to false, then that's no longer edited. Then we also have the layout. This one, what we added here. This is also the class. And as we can see, that is responsible for the formatting. Of the log, and usually there are three type of layouts: simple layout, which for logo messages, then paternal layout, the output based on the conversion time specified, and also HTML layout, which is based on the HTML format we have not talked about, but that's used for web, and we will definitely talk about the HTML. I think we can talk about HTML and about HTML after we finish talking about the files. And here you can see some references. If you want to explore the logging package more, you can go directly to the Apache website, and here you can see some descriptions, some files which we have. Okay, let's have the break now, and after the break together we'll do the logging exercise. Okay, now let's have a break. Okay, let's continue now. We'll do the practical task, as I mentioned, and this is from activity extra 10. This one. So we'll just implement what is asked here. So first of all is we need to implement static methods for localhost, write trace, debug, info warn, error, and fatal messages. Know that this logger should have pass GTM extra 10 log. So basically, this is what we have here. Let's define the logger first. We have the logger. That will be logger. This is log. So remember that we want to get logger class, and usually here we define the class name. Unusual, but it's up to define class name. So I will go and define class name here. So this is the logger first, and let's just go one by one. First one to implement is trace. So implement is trace, so that's called the static. What's trace? we need to provide the message. And then we can add trace to the message. The second one is debug, right? So we will find it as well. Yeah, we define all the methods as public because our class will be used for the logging, so these methods will also be used outside the class. String message, and here we put the info. I'm sorry, not info, but debug to the log. Swing. Let's go next. Next one will be info. So the same way. Public static void info. We have a string. Times the message. And we pass this message to the log. Yeah, so then we have the same for warning as well. So basically the same operation to be repeated for all the following elements. And also remaining two are error and fatal. The last one is fatal. So we're done here, let's move to the next part. Then we need to implement public static logger get logger, which will return as the logger object. So that will be public static logger. This will return as the logger. So this is defined as private, so we need to have the getter to access this log. Right, then yeah, there's another to do second, to do too, but okay, we can work with it as well. So here we need to implement internal class extension log, which allows to write into log trace, debug, info warn, error and final messages. And yeah, now this logger should have class paths, GDN extra log and ext log. So basically, how can we do it? So yeah, you can see that we use inner class. This is static class, which is the part of this class. So remember, since this is the static class, this will be available without the creation of the object of log class. So it means that it can be used directly from log class. So yeah, let's do it. First I need to implement this class, and in fact we just need to copy paste the methods. So maybe first let's start with logger definition of log object. So again I will use the factory class, a factory method, and then I will files. Yep, and after that I'll just basically copy paste the methods from here. So I have methods and I just can copy paste, and in this case, since since I'm currently inside another class, so this will be, and these methods will work with this not variable, not the one defined in the author class. But, so this is done, and yeah, this is practically it. So here, one moment, let's check. Yeah, I think we don't need to get over here because we just want to write. We just need to write press. Okay, let's see what do we have here. Unit test. Okay, surface. Okay, the dependency plot is not included. Okay, for some reasons I'm not sure, but oh yeah, a moment. This is what I was saying. So as you remember, I was searching for a file here, and it was not available. Okay, maybe let me copy what I have on here. So I have dependency here, and I can add this dependency here. And so let's check. Yeah, really, let's check what do we have as well here. Okay, we need to configure properties file. Okay, clean up. Okay, so I added the dependency now. So yeah, here's the first point. I have added the dependency. Okay, then I think we choose this. That's interesting. Let me quickly check it. Maybe this unit test does not work correctly as well. There is such. Yeah, there is such possibility. Let me quickly check if the logic here is correct. So here I added the log file. Yeah, this is correct. Not the log file, but the log object. So then I have the static methods. Yeah, this is correct. Then I have get logger. Okay, and that's correct as well. Then we go to log class. Then we have the logger here. Yeah, that's correct. Then we just have all these static methods, and I think that's correct. Maybe there's the problem with unit test. Let me quickly maybe check here. So maybe let's also check to do if something is not missed. Yeah, the dependency is added. As we can see now. Yeah, maybe we can just, yeah, maybe let's run the command maybe eclipse, because this will plot the dependencies. So that's it's workspace. I'll just cheat here. project. The P1 files here. So I will run the command line. I will copy. Yeah, if you want to copy the directory, you can just copy paste here the files and then go to the directory. So that was Maven. Compiler examples. Let me quickly check. Maven. Maven Queen if needed. Queen maybe is not needed, but we can use it as well. So let's run compile executes. So this will basically build our main project. Yeah, in some cases, if you import from somewhere your project, you may not just have these Maven dependencies automatically to be downloaded. That's why you may need to use executes to actually build your project. Okay, let's see if this works now. At least the first point should be covered. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it still shows that P1 file is not configured, but I added the dependencies, and you can see it here. Dependency is added. So here it is added. This is the same as it is here. And that's the same. I have to. Yeah, but for the P1, that's if we have the error, if we have the errors, then it should not be the problem. Okay, and it seems that I think there was one. I also need to change the properties as well. Yeah, so that's what I think was not done by default. So let's quickly check this point. You can go to, if you want to follow it, you can go to toggle there. And this is topic for next exercise. You have log4j, and here you have the definition of what should be done. Yeah, so I think I missed it, so I'm sorry. So let's do the setup required here. Yeah, let's go to the source main, no, so here. Main resources. Oh yeah, what for properties here is. And yeah, here basically you can find the properties of log we have. So folder of log file should be logs. Yeah, that's correct. Inside project folder. Yeah. Name of log file should be test log. Okay. Let's quickly check, double check this one. Okay, we need to add the file first one. Okay, that's correct. The file. Yeah, so here we need to add the file. That's correct. Then here we have warning. That's correct. Gboss, that's correct. And yeah, also need to add, because that was asked there, log4 j logger chicken extra 10 log, and this should be info information. And we have log4 j then logger, and here we add another log class to be used. And yeah, here we define the class name. That's inner class, so that's it is accessed using the dollar mark, and that's trace. Then we have direct log messages to log file. Yeah, so we need to add them as well. So that's I think this was in the file over. Quickly check it. Yeah, okay, this one is also just paste it from model there. Find it here, let's check if everything is correct. So vendor rolling here, vendor, that's correct. Test yes. Maximum size, that's the size of the can be different. We can use 5 megabytes. I think that should definitely be enough for our case. Backup index, and that should be fine. Return layout, and then yeah, the date. That's correct. Okay, then we have std out, system out, return. Okay, so this should be better. Okay, let's check what's the result we have now. Let's go here. Let's test. Maybe that's something. Let's check this for this. Okay, still. Yeah, for some reasons it shows that POM file is not configured, but the dependency is imported. Okay, so what we have here, this file is not configured. It actually is configured. Okay. So I don't have. That's we can see the project can be built. Yeah, just maybe one small comment. Yeah, Alexander had this issue with the. Sometimes you may have this. You may have the problems which which are not so serious, and then you may have the problems which. With the exclamation mark, that these are the problems which do not allow you to rebuild your program, so project. So basically, what does it mean? It means that if you do any changes on your project will not be rebuilt, because this may be serious errors. In this case, the errors are not serious. Because there is no such message that the project cannot be built, and that's why this case should be fine. But I'm still not sure why the POM files. It says the POM file is not. We have no dependency here. Dependency is added here. So as you can see, we added the dependency, so it should not be the issue. The version is correct, right? Group ID is correct as well. The project is recompiled. Okay, maybe what we can also do, we can go to project clean. This will rebuild our project. And we'll build this project. Okay. Then maybe I will run this Maven clean up of setups again. So I will go to folder. The folder is correct. I think so, it should be correct. Yeah, it's correct. I have my PRL file. So the folder name is correct. Wait. So let's remove this one. And again, I run main clean Eclipse. This will basically again load all the dependencies I have in the project. Okay, it's loading. Yeah, build success, so it says that everything is correct. Maybe let's check out. Everything should be fine here. There should not be such a recommendation with me. Let's quickly check. Yeah, we implemented all the things. We added the categories for the class. Yeah. We set up all the properties we have. I think this should work fine, but for some reasons, okay, maybe let's check now. Pretty sure that the unit test will still fail, but okay, let's see. Yeah, we still have this and maybe there's the problem with unit test, because in this case we can see that dependency is actually added and the project is rebuilt. Also, yeah, so the settings are also done for the for file. But okay, I think we can continue. Maybe I will check it later and see what is the reason. But maybe unit test fails as well, because there may be such things. I think that was the only one with such issue. I will check it out later. But basically, the setup is correct. Okay, maybe let's go ahead. I will check it later and say what's the issue. But for now, I want to go to the next topic, and the topic is related to the files. And this is, from my point of view, this is one of the most interesting topics. We'll also talk about the applications a little bit later, but for now, this is the topic we have not covered in the previous course, but it is quite important from my point of view, because nowadays, I will open the presentation and maybe we'll start with let's start with XML files, but I will explain the idea in general. So basically, what are the files and how the files are usually used in programming? Of course, there can be such files like text files, generated files, which PDF files, which can be generated from the program. Also, some files with the images, some HTML files, and so on, which are generated using the code. Yeah, it can be Java code or any other code. It depends. So these are the files which can be generated from the program. If we have the time, I will also show you some examples how, not today, but in our course, some examples how can we generate such files with the images, files with like PDF files as well. Let's see how it goes. But so this is basically the files which can be generated from the program. Also, if you have the shop, e-commerce shop, then you may have the orders, and the orders are represented using the the PDF files. Sometimes you have the order, then you have details about the order. So these files, of course, are generated from the program. So the program just collects the information and shows you the file, and creates the file. So these are the files which are generated by the program to then be shown to someone. This time, right now, we will talk about such files like XML, JSON, and CSV, which are used to store the information about something, and not only to store but to transport, to move the information about some specific objects. That can be the statistics, statistics about everything. And again, you have the Excel files. Then inside the Excel files you have the data. Again, this can be the statistics, and then using this one you actually have this data, which then is used somewhere, and it can also be used by the program. And basically, the most popular file formats we mostly use are the XML, JSON, and CSV. Why these formats? XML is mostly, I would say, I think that's historically maybe one of the most popular formats, which basically comes from the which basically has the similar structure HTML files do have. HTML files, these are the files which are used in web pages. Like, let's say we have this web page, then we go to right click, inspect element, and here we have the HTML file. I think you can I never added the whole HTML document, but here we have the HTML file. You have the sections under the section stored, and this is how the web page is defined. So using the HTML, we'll talk about HTML files a little bit later, but so basically I'm saying this because XML structure is quite similar to the structure of XML files. So XML files also do have such sections, and then under the sections we have some data using the type. So XML structure is pretty much same as the HTML. There are some differences, there are some key points, but the style of defining the data is the same. And you also can see that we have some tags which point us that we have some XML related data. Then we have JSON. JSON, this is the structure which comes from JavaScript. So if you go, say, I can have some code here, and okay, there's some JavaScript code here. Okay, I'm not sure if I can trigger anything of this, but what's the idea? The idea is that you can really wants to trigger some JavaScript. So I'm not sure if I can do it here. Maybe I have some something button. So let's cancel. Okay, that's our reference. Basically, when you load the maybe that's a little bit introduction to web programming, but The idea when you have the page, basically you have two things. When you actually, I would say three things you have. When the page is loaded, you have the structure of the XML, not XML but HTML document. We'll talk about HTML documents a bit later, but you have the structure. Then you have the styles, which are the CSS elements, CSS files, CSS files, and then you have script. And script contains so basically this is all what you have right here. Then you have some links, again, as we just seen here. Then maybe the link which navigates you to the different page, which is assigned to this button. But yeah, basically what you have is this page, and you have the scripts, JavaScripts, which can have the variables. So basically when the page is loaded, you have the, again, HTML, which is the structure of the page you have. Then you have the JavaScript code, which controls the actions you have. In the actions, I mean, if something is basically in this case, what you have when you press cancel button, and you can see we have the link here, means that it will navigate us to this link. But if there are some changes done without navigating to different pages, these are controlled by JavaScript. Yeah, and JavaScript has JavaScript code has the data. I mean, not the data, but yeah, we can say that the data, which can be used, like we have the values here. If we change the values, we can put some handlers on the value changes there, and this may trigger JavaScript code after that. And yeah, it also contains the data, the variables, and JavaScript code, not JavaScript code, but the objects in JavaScript, also the array, basically the data in JavaScript is stored using the syntax. We'll go through it a bit later, and this syntax may be just can be exported if we export such data from JavaScript objects we have in a web page, so it can be also used not only web pages. Then at the end we will get JSON file. Yeah, basically this is the file which comes from the JSON format, from JavaScript format. And then we have CSV files. These CSV files are the same things that XML files, but please remember and please be careful when you work with not XML but Excel files, with Excel files and CSV files, because when you work with Excel files, then you have pretty much, I would say, complicated structure. You may have some different colors, some different fonts, you can use bolding or something like that. When you use CSV, it means that you just have the file, which is plain text file, with some separators and multiple lines, and that's it. When you use CSV. For Excel formats are quite complicated, I would say, and at least I never work with, in the programs I never work with Excel files. So usually when we have something which comes from Excel, then we just transform it to CSV and use it after that. So let's start with one by one. I mean, with the file types. And first tab is XML. Yeah, today we'll talk about, of course, also we'll talk about HTML, the goals, how HTML, XML, and XHTML. Talk about the goals of XML files, syntax, and the rules. How can we create these files, schema, and what is TD and XSD. what is the validation used for XML files, and then DOM and SAX parsers. These are the classes which can be used to actually work with XML files in Java. But let's just go one by one. Let's start with prehistory. The first thing, as I mentioned, is HTML. This is hypertext markup language, and this is the language used for the web pages, and not only for the web pages. In theory, it can be done. Everywhere, I would say. So let's say that we have our folder here. Then I would say I'll create a test folder. No, sorry, just do it here. So I can create the test folder, and then inside this folder I'll just basically write create file. So here I will find some information. So let's say I'll have tag open tag post. So hello everyone. Then I'll go to the next slide, and this is the text. So here I just have a simple text file with some information provided, and so that's just simple text. But what can I do? I can change the format to HTML. Now it becomes HTML file, and what we can see here, I have the content here. So basically what I have here, as you can see, I put hello everyone, and I've written hello everyone. I also written the text, and basically you can see the structure here. Okay, I can also use Notepad++. So what does it mean? Here I have the open tag and the close tag. So these are the best. Maybe just to make it more understandable, I can usually have the IDs. Maybe I can, let's say, I will use ID, which is quite comfortable to be used. Oh, sorry. I'm just open a new window. So I can open a new window. And so you can have multiple different IDs. In fact, it can also be opened with Eclipse as well. So let me format code. That is okay. Sorry. Okay, and the formatting is repository. That should be fun. Okay, sorry, I will quickly. Oh yeah, so here I just wanted to format the code. Yeah, so now I have the formatted code, and basically what I have here, I have the opening and closing tags. I can do them this way, and I have the opening tag, so it means that I start some content, and maybe I will split the screens. Let's bring the screens, and here you can see what we have here. So here I have an opening tag. It means that this is the beginning of some section. Then I have the closing tag, which means that this is the end of the section. H1, this is the standard HTML tag, which points out basically all the tags in HTML are standard tags. There's also some custom tags I think possible, but that's maybe not what we want to use now. Yeah, so we have the starting tag, ending tag, and basically what is inside this is a part of h1 tag. In this case, we can say this h1 means header 1. Yeah, so it has some header style. If we it can also be header 2. So if we here, so we can see that this is the header 2 with the smaller font size. But again, what the idea is that we have the start tag and we have end tag. Here I also use BR. BR means line space. In this case it's not needed because for header tags there's automatic line break, but if you want to add additional line break, we can use BR tag. And yeah, also the same for italic. For example, I means italic. So we have the start tag, ending tag. That means that everything what's inside this I tag, this will be written in italic. And so basically this file HTML look, we will create some HTML files a little bit later, but basically the idea is that we have starting and ending tags. Yeah, this is what HTML is about. We can have header tag, head tag, and then body. We usually use, yeah, we can have different tags here. So, and now we go to XML. So we have, so you now know that we have HTML files and what about XML? XML is defined as extensible markup language. That stands for, the name is the markup language and defines a set of rules for encoding documents in a format which is both human readable and machine readable. So this is quite, I would say, formal definition. But the idea, simple idea, is that this is basically the file with text file with the tags, yeah, same as for HTML. We have the tags here, and using these tags we define the information and we place the information. So it's we'll see the examples, but yeah, this is basically the structured document when so it's not just a simple text document where we can put everything, but this is a structured XML. This is a structured document with structured tags and the information stored. So we store and transmit structured data using XMLs. Yeah, also there is how the web programming works. The networks. So let's see that we press cancel. So I think so we have the requests here, and but yeah, here the requests can be sent as JSON, but okay, maybe that won't be so important for you now. I'll show it a little bit later how the requests work. But yeah, the idea is that the file, these are the files which are moved from one place to another. Usually, let's say that if you have some input in the web pages or the applications, then this input may be structured in the exact way in file. It can be XML file, and then this may be sent to another system, to your code, and then you can actually use it inside your code. Yeah, basically this is the plain text with the text. As for HTML, and it was developed by, just for information, by Worldwide Web Consortium to deal with the issues of HTML. There are some issues of HTML. We will talk about them. So respectively, HTML, standard generalized markup language, was introduced as a common successor of both HTML and XML document tabs, but yeah, we'll take a look at them. So basically, what are the goals? It's easy to use in the web. That's correct, but again, usually nowadays also JSON files are used in web. Usually XMLs are stored for some same backend. We mostly use XML. This is basically the place where data is stored. Like imagine that we have again the same web store. Also, maybe you know Savidzināve in Latvia. We have such website, and in Savidzināve, for example, where all these products come from. So when you go to Savidzināve, everyone knows this website, and you have the products. When you have some products here, just any products you may find here. Not sure where is it, but yeah, all the products you can see here are loaded from XML files. So basically, how it works, you can see the suppliers here. There are some suppliers, some stores here. They just basically send the XML files to Savidzināve, and they just load this content to this site. So basically, all the content, except of course pictures, but I mean the hyperlinks, the texts, the prices here, deliveries, how many items there are in stock, and so on. Everything comes from XML files. Okay? So basically, this is the data sent to Savidzināve, and they just can load it to the website after that. Support for different applications. So it means that you may have. What the sweetest point here is that this is quite popular format used everywhere. And also POM file we used here. This is also the XML file. And so we have the XML structure, have some properties defined here, and based on these properties, the configuration of our project may be different. Okay? And yeah, as I said, the sweetest point is that this format is quite popular. So, almost everyone can work with such format. And all the tools you're working with, if there's programming called the frameworks, they mostly accept XML document type. It's a subclass of standard generalized markup language, which is not so popular as HTML. And to be honest, I never used it before, but this is also quite similar to HTML or to XML, but mostly we use XML, not HTML. But yeah, that's the parent. Let's say a parent markup language. Yeah, XML easy to process and use, as I said, because you'll find so many tools, so many libraries, packages which accept this format. Then you can basically work with such files after that. Minimum set of mandatory features. You don't really need to the setup is not quite complicated here. Sorry. XML documents should be easy to create. Of course, you can write them in as the text files, but usually there are so many online tools which help you to create XML. Like if you type in Google, Xml Create online tool. Yeah, you can find so many online tools which can help you create XML document. Like you can also see the tree of XML document. So it's quite there is a tutorial if you want to. Tutorial that is not directly into XML, but never mind. The idea is that here you can basically see the structure. You can translate from JSON, and you can also translate to JSON from XML. So there are so many nice tools which can help you work with XML files. And yeah, simplicity over expressiveness. Yeah, it's quite simple, a simple way of document storage. Okay, maybe right now let's have the break, and after the break we will continue talking about XML files. Okay, let's continue. So, okay. So, for example, this is how XML file looks like. The same as for HTMLs, we have the tags here. For each tags, we may have the attributes. So these are the attributes of tags, and these are the values of tags. So please be careful to distinguish them, because it's quite important when you have something stored under the tag, inside the tag. So this is the inside definition of the tag. Then it is the attribute of the tag. But when there's something stored in between the tag, then this is the actual content. Sometimes it's called the value of the tag. Like this one, so we have ID person 1, and name David Gilmore, then person 2, name Richard Wright, then person 3, name Nick Mason. There should also be person 4, Roger Waters, and then at the end we can name this as the import. Cool, yeah. But yeah, it's a different story. Yeah. So basically we have the tags, and under the tags we may have other tags. So here also in the tags we can have more tags. We usually have version defined at the beginning. Encoding also quite important. When we talk about the files, then please be careful. Please be careful with the encodings, because when you have to work with Latvian characters, then you must have encoding UTF-8 or UTF-8. That's so important, because if you're using different encoding, then this may trigger the situation that you lose these vectors. That's why the encoding may be important. XML appliances. So basically, where we use XML files, as I already said, we use for storage and installation of web content. That's maybe again when you have different pages or different websites, to send the data you have from one place to another. XML files can be used. Also, and movement of structured data. There can be some inputs from user. Then actually these data can be moved from one place to another using XML files as well. And also the configuration files, like we just have URL file. This is configured using XML structure. Then we have such things like XHTML, and basically had this also XML and HTML, but it is not HTML, because some elements in HTML can skip closing text. Basically how this looks like, let's go back to our test file. I think it's still opened. It's still opened. So what you may have is that you actually have something like this. Yeah, let's say. So let's see what we have at the end. Yeah, you won't have any errors, but your actual file will not be correct. But okay, maybe about text, this is not so reliable, but what you may have is so if you have bolding, I think if we have a bold, then see that this is the content in bold. Then we can close bold here. So here, what we see at the end, yeah, basically you can see that the file is correct, and basically it works correctly. So we start bold here, we finish bold here, but what we can do that this structure is not it's not the one. Like here we can see that we closed the tag of B before closing the tag I. From XML, from HTML perspective, this is correct, because it just sees that here's the start and here's the end, here's the start and here's the end. So everything is correct here. But maybe let's just grab this one. Yeah, but from the XML point of view, this will not be correct, because you should have, you cannot have just mixing, you cannot have this decoration when you mix the tags. You should have that one tag can include another tag, like that would be here, that would be here, that's here. You have one section of section of persons, and then you have multiple sections included in the section of persons. And yeah, also the same here, but you cannot just have something like you start the section, then you start another section, then you finish previous section, then you finish the second section. This is not acceptable for HTML. So yeah, for XHTML, such situation is not possible. Element names are not case sensitive. Yeah, so everything is in uppercase. Attribute values can be written without quotes. Again, so as you can see, we write attribute values. And I'll just check. I'll just so this is a HTML document, and you can see that attribute values are written using the quotation marks. Yeah, but in XHTML this can be skipped. Also, this is not HTML, it should be XML. Sorry, yeah, that's good. Document type is not mandatory. The XML attribute in HTML is mandatory, so it should be there, and also these tags are mandatory for the document. I have one example. Let me check if I can show it to you. A moment, I'll check if I can. Maybe I'll just take some examples from Google. So a moment. Okay, XHTML. So this should be fine. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. You should have all these sections mandatory: body, HTML, heads, and tags. Then you can quotation marks are used here, but you can really skip them as well. And XML tags. XML tag is maybe standard HTML. Yeah, so this tag is placed under HTML. So this is basically the combination of XML and HTML formats. So basically, what's the difference between them? Elements must be properly nested, so this is what I said. You cannot just mix them this way. You just mix them this way. Must always be closed. So in HTML, until you can skip closing the elements, your basically HTML will never crash. But yeah, here we can skip. It means that you can skip closing the tags, comparing to XHTMLs when where these tags must be closed. Elements must be lowercase. So this is also mandatory. Then they must have one root element. And also should be, and XHTML attributes, their names must be in lowercase, values must be quoted, attribute values must be quoted, and minimization is forbidden. Basically, what is the minimization? I think I have not mentioned here, but minimization. I'll show what the minimized. Okay, then maybe minimized files are files which skip some texts, some serious definitions. Yeah, maybe cannot just always minimize that. Maybe let's check minimized. Okay, I think this is a correct example. So in when we work with web applications, there's maybe some situations where should we choose here? Okay, let's just try to stick with this picture, or maybe I'll just try to open it. Okay, so here's better. Basically, when we work with the web, with websites, there may be such situations when we really need to improve the performance, and we must do everything to improve the performance. So basically, what does it mean? So if we write original HTML file, so this will be this one. Then we may have the minification. And what does it mean? It means that it deletes basically all the spaces, all the line breaks which can be deleted. For JavaScript files, it basically renames the variables as well. In HTML, we don't have the variables. Yeah, basically it minimizes the actual structure of the document. And for some large XML or not XML but HTML documents, this may be quite significant and may significantly improve the performance. But in XHTML, the minimization is forbidden, so you cannot do it. Yeah, how the XML structure looks like. So there are three main types we can talk about. So the first one is tags. As I said, we have tags. We should have start of the tag, end of the tag, end of tag. And so always have start of the tag that just looks this way. And have a closing tag, we should use the slash. And this means that this is the closing tag. We can have the elements of the tag, so this means that this is the elements which are located inside the tag. So the elements of the person's tag are these elements. Here we just have one element which has multiple elements here. Then we have the attributes, which are defined exactly not under, but inside the tag, and we can also have the comments just in all the things related to programming. We can have them, and they do not affect anything, but just in case we want to have some commented content, it can be possible, or to just put some comments there, describe something, we can use the comments. So there is one rule that there should be the root element. You should start with one and only one root element, so you cannot have multiple elements. What does it mean? It means that have definition of XML and start with the first tag. So this is the first tag, greeting, and then it finishes with greeting. So you cannot have, so this is the root tag, one element, one root element. You cannot have multiple root elements, like in this case. This is forbidden, this is not correct XML structure. So there should be only one root element. The second rule is that there should be tree structure. So this is what I said. It is possible to be done in HTML but not in XML. So for example, when you have such situation that you have you open one tag, then you open another tag. So it means that in this case you should first close name tag and then you should close person tag, because in this case when we have the start tag, it defines that everything what is inside must be just located inside, and it means that everything what is located inside must be closed before the person tag itself is closed. That's why we cannot have such structure that we first close person and then close name. We should first close what is located inside. Then, comparing to what we can have in HTML, I can have such situation. In HTML, this is correct, but not in XML. Then we have the third rule, mandatory closing tags. So this means that for all the tags you open, the tags must be closed also inside program. There can be such situation where you have the tag without the elements inside. So it basically means that this will be just such tag. So this is the tag without the content, without including elements. Why such tags may be needed? For example, there can be some input content, like we just may have some identifier, let's say, so there can be just the element without any content, but with the attribute, let's say, it can be ID. So inside ID you don't need to put any elements inside, but you can just simply use the attribute, which is ID. Also with all software it's needed to have the space beforehand. It's just recommended to use the space. Also please remember that if we have just one element, we cannot if you want to write some tag name, then you should not use the spaces. You can use underscores instead of spaces. That's just an additional comment. Empty element could have attributes. This is what I said. And so you can have no elements, but you can have inside it, you can have the attributes. In such cases. Another rule is case sensitive. In HTML, The tags are not case sensitive, but usually the tags in HTML we mostly name tags in lowercase. We do not name tags in uppercase, but in HTML, yeah, these are considered as the same tags. In XML, these are considered as two different tags. So for example, the person, this will not be correct because you should have closing tags for all the tags. Then there is another rule called attribute values. Attribute should have values, like if you add the attribute to the element, to the tag, the element, you should have the value for them. Should add the values, assign the values to them. Yeah, can use single or double quotes, quotation marks. This is not so important, but the point is that if you use double quotation mark, then you should close the tag with double quotation marks. Quotation mark, you cannot start with double quotation mark and then close it using single quotation mark. This is not allowed. So just be careful here. If you start using one, then you should continue using the same. Okay, let's continue with XML Decoration. Most XML documents start with XML Decoration, which provides meta info about the document. So basically, query states that it is XML, not something else, and it query states encoding of non-Latin characters. And this is what I said. And please remember that for Latvian characters, we usually use UTF-8. Yeah, it's not mandatory, but it's recommended to be able to recognize the key points of the definition of the text. So, okay. So then we can also define the structure of XML document. So basically, as you know, as I just said, XML are structured documents, so they have structured formats, and this structure may be defined somewhere. Of course, you must keep defining, but in this case, this may be quite complicated to understand if your document is correct. So if all the tags are in place, if all the information provided is correctly, if all the types are correct. So in such cases, you may need to define the document type, which is DTD, and also XSD, which is a document schema for XML. Yeah, so basically in such documents you define how your XML file should look like. And then using such schemas you can compare if XML is correct or not, or if it belongs to one structure or to another structure. Then there can also be escape sequences. So for example, if you have the data containing comparison marks, elements, then you may need to escape them. Or for example, attribute value can also contain quotation marks, and to escape them we can use escape sequence. For example, for double quotation marks you can use such elements. So these will basically mean the same. One point I would like to highlight is that that's what I faced in my practical experience recently, is that if you have again, so this is the text file. XML files are basically the text files. So you have the characters there, right? And it means that, so if you have the characters, you have the length of them, so it means that you have the number of characters, used inside the document and so on. And in such cases, if you use such symbols, you will have the you actually have more characters in your text files. And so what does it mean? I mean, in most cases that's not crucial, but I recently worked with SMS sending from the code, and the problem is that the problem was for Latvian characters, because Latvian characters are special characters like A, T, U, and all the Latvian specific characters. These characters basically store more characters than just one character, than just simple Latvian character. And in such cases, they may be more strict limits. Again, for example, for SMS, so in this case, you will face more character limits than it is for just a simple character. So in such cases, be careful when you use escape characters. Then if you define them for something which may have the limitation on the characters, then please remember that such escape sequence will cost you more characters to use. Yeah, that's just for information. So, but yeah, then let's go on. Next, DTD. That's document type definition. That was the first format for definition of XML structure. Yeah, it's not XML itself, and it looks this way. This is first format, and not widely used now nowadays. This is how it looks like. Basically, here you can define the structure. I'm not so familiar with this one, because it's basically the old format. But this is how it looks like. For example, this can be that you provide the reference to the DTD schema, and then your XML will be verified by this schema. In DTD elements, in DTD files, you will have the elements that defines the name of the element which should be positioned in XML file, and the content model that defines the content type and structure of the elements to be used inside XML. So there are some main DTD constructs. Now the type decoration defines an element and its possible content with the syntax that we use empty for empty. We point that the elements can be empty. We have any that point that this may contain any type. The element name, which is the name of the element sequence list, or operator, and similarly using Java. Question mark, Minification mark form. Question mark is optional. This may be optional elements, so some elements can be skipped in theory. Minification mark means 0 or more repetitions. Plus means 1 or more repetitions. But this is how the example looks like. We have DTD definition of the persons and persons XMLs, and this basically provides the verification to the XML documents. So this was quite an old format and is quite rarely used now. Mostly now we use XSDs. That's the newer standard of XML definition, and the key points here is that XSD documents, files itself are also XML files. It supports different data types like integer, string, URL, data type float. So it means that if we define the element definition, then we can also define what type do we expect from from the elements there. It can be extended. So means we can extend, we can add masking types can be introduced in special or more general types. You can add some more elements there, but yeah, it's more expensive. It has more complicated structure than DTD structure. So, for example, this is how it looks like. You can see that it has similar definition that Xml Files have starting tags, closing tags, the attributes here, and using XSDs we can actually provide the structure for the documents to be used, to be created. So for the type, you can string decimal or other type, name of the element, and so for each element we have, so this is basically the name of the element, the tag, which then will be used in the XML structure, the XML document. Complex type means that it will have the other elements under itself. So then we can provide sequence. And for example, for the persons, XML, this will look this way. So what we have here, we define that we have the element persons, which should be the first element, the persons, then we have type. The type is person type, so it basically means that this is the root element and it has person type, and here we define the person type using complex type, and here we just define the attributes we have here. And so we have the sequence of max occurs, that's the element person, and the sequence of the name surname. So these are the tags to be used. So again, at the end we have closing of complex type. Is that again, this is also closing of definition of the type. How can we refer to XSD in XML? It's quite simple. In the root element, we actually provide the reference to the XSD schema. So we should have the following ones. This is by default. That's just XML schema instance. Just need to add the stack, and then it basically is used everywhere. It's just by default it should be added. And here you add the XSD schema to be used after that. Okay, then how can we validate? There's validation. So again, as I said, we have XSD schema. Then using the schema, we can validate the XML files we have. So invalid. So what will for invalid XMLs? They does not conform to XML syntax rules. Well-formed XML conforms to syntax rules of XML, which are the same for all XML documents. Basically, this is what I said. Basically, since these are text documents, we can in fact write everything. But of course, if we write everything, it can be incorrect. So, we should have validation. First, again, all the simple rules are here. Closing tag, starting tags, root tag, well-formed XML. All the rules are matched. And then we check if the XML is valid. So it means that the structure of the XML corresponds to the XSD or DTD schemas defined there. And you can also use XML online validator tool. So we will work with XML documents a bit later, and then we'll see that when we construct the document we can use some online tools. So basically here we can provide XML schema, so that will be XSD schema, and then we provide instance, so this is the XML document itself, and at the end we can validate if the document is correct or not. How can we work with XML documents? We will work with them during the next sessions, but for now let's quickly introduce you to the packages, to the files, to the classes which can be used to work with XML files. So in Java we have SAX and DOM parsers. So basically, the parsers. This is the key point highlighted. The key thing for the XMLs, JSONs, and CSV, because we need to parse the file to actually get some data from it. Because what we have, again, as I said, XMLs are just simple text files. No more, no less, no more. And so it means that to get something from text files, to get some structured data, we need to parse it. The parse means that based on some rules we provide, if it's XML or XML with specifically defined XSD structure, then we need to use the parsers. Again, we can create our own parser, but this will not be so efficient because there are already classes which provide such functionality. And in Java, such files come from XML package, Java XML package, and these are SAX and DOM parsers. We will see how to use them, but just for information, these are the main classes we will use for the XML documents. Basically what is DOM file? This is document object model. This is the cross-platform and language independent convention for representing and interacting with such files like XML, HTML, XHTML, and XML documents. This is an in-memory XML model that can be used to basically work with XML documents. And so against basically what we have, we get the text, plain text as the input, and then using these classes we can easily work with our XML files. So what are the benefits? It allows to move in document tree up and down, get child, get parent, so have XML tags. So one tag, one element is located inside another element, and then we can just navigate through them, go to parent element, go to child element, and so on. We can also add and remove the elements there, so we can construct a new XML document. We can read the existing one, read the attributes, reorder the elements, and so on. So basically we can work with these documents. And then also the drawback for the other need to load all XML into memory. We cannot just simply split it into the pieces and then just work with it. And another API is SAX. That's a simple API for XML. That's an event-driven online algorithm for parsing XML document. And this API interface, which is developed by XML Dev mailing list. So basically this is the parser which uses XML tree, and then it sends events when it gets some structure elements, like for example when we start of the element and then end of the element, and text. Basically it only reports each parsing event as it happens, and everything except information of unclosed elements. So it's faster than DOM clause, and it uses minimum memory required for sex parser is it's proportional to the maximum depth of the XML file. So in this case, sex structures is a little bit more efficient. But during the next sessions, we will work with XML files. I will show you how can we basically proceed, how we can work with them, how we can create them using Java, how we can read the data from them, and of course to move to different places in code. Okay, I think for now we can close this session. Next time we'll continue. If you have any questions, you are always welcome to ask them. But for now, I'd like to say thank you very much for your attention today, and have a nice weekend. Bye.